Victor Banjo was a Yoruba who served in the Nigerian Army as a major before being imprisoned by General Ironsi for allegedly plotting against him. The federal military government had underestimated Biafra from day one, but the Biafrans took advantage of this obvious mistake from the government and now have the war seemingly under control. This was quickly allowed to slip. In fact, the Biafran forces only got as far as Ore. Meanwhile, another unexpected turn of events had happened. Unknown to everyone, the commander of the Biafran forces in the Midwest had turned traitor. Victor Banjo was a Yoruba who served in the Nigerian Army as a major before being imprisoned by General Ironsi for allegedly plotting against him. His prison was in the eastern region. From here, he was released by Colonel Ojukwu at the outbreak of the war and given a commission in the Biafran Army. Why Ojukwu chooses Banjo to command the troops marching towards the west has not been fully explained. But the two soldiers were good friends and Ojukwu had full confidence in his abilities. Secondly, being a Yoruba from western region, Banjo was familiar with the terrain and could use the language to convince the Yorubas in the occupied territories to support the war. With the rank of brigadier, Banjo commanded the S Brigade that marched into the Midwest and down to Ore. According to his own confession after he was unmasked and arrested, he had concluded after August 9 that he would enter into talks with the leaders of the West, notably Chief Awolowo. He asked Ejo to act as a mediator between himself and Awolowo, but Ejo declined to take the risk. According to Banjo, he would later relay messages using the sideband radio of British Deputy High Commission in Benin. A British official communicated these messages in German to another official in the High Commission in Lagos. The message was passed on to Chief Awolowo. The plot Banjo revealed was typically Yoruba in its complexity. He was to destroy Biafra by withdrawing troops from the Midwest under various pretexts, arrest and assassinate Ojukwu, and declare the war over. He would subsequently return to his own region as a Nigerian hero. His past would now be forgiven and forgotten. He went on to say that the second part of the plan, which would be revealed later, was for him and Awolowo to rally the newly recruited Yoruba army to his cause and topple Gowon. This would allow him to take over the presidency of Nigeria and give Awolowo his long-desired premiership. It seems unlikely though that the Gowon government was informed of this postscript. Colonel Ifeajuna, who had also been released from prison, a Moscow-trained communist officer, Major Philip Alele, a Biafran Foreign Service official, Sam Agbam, who did some of the negotiation between the two sides while out of Biafra, and several other junior officers and functionaries were all recruited into Banjo's plot. He was ready to execute this plot by mid-September. Despite being frustrated by the lack of action in the West, Colonel Ojukwu continued to believe Banjo and accept his claims of administrative issues, manpower shortages, lack of firearms and ammunition, and so on. True, the Nigerians had grown stronger in the 3 weeks that has passed. The Nigerians had formed 2 fresh brigades through a hasty 1-week recruitment campaign that brought into uniform diverse elements such as college students and prison inmates. This was the 2nd Division that was commanded by Colonel Moritala Mohammed. The division fought back from the western region. As late as the first week of September, the deployment of swift motorized column could have put the Biafrans in a commanding position in the western region. But on September 12, Banjo gave orders to withdraw from Benin City without firing a shot. He was not authorized to do so. Mohammed didn't arrive in Benin until September 21st. Banjo also issued orders to withdraw from Warri, Sapele, Auchi, Igweben, and other strategic locations. The Biafran subordinate officers were surprised and confused, but they did as they were told. Simultaneously, Biafran defenses south of Nsukka crumbled, and the federal forces advanced many miles down the road to Enugu, 45 miles south of Nsukka. At this point, Banjo decided to attack Ojukwu directly. In the Midwest, he met with Ifeajuna and Alele to finalize the plans for the assassination, which was to take place on September 19, coinciding with Banjo's presence in Enugu, where he had been asked to explain what he was doing in Midwest. None of the three seemed to realize that time had run out. Surprisingly, they had told several other officers and civilians about the plans, without first checking to see if they would remain faithful to Ojukwu. In fact, most of them did, but some had already gone to meet him with the details of the plot. It took a lot of persuasion to convince him, but the facts were beginning to speak for themselves. Ifeajuna and Alele were each summoned to State House, where Ojukwu met them and ordered their arrest. Banjo was summoned as well, but he arrived with a strong escort of men who he wanted to bring into the premises. He was convinced that they could remain at the entrance until he returned, while he went in alone but armed. He agreed. Colonel Ojukwu's police ADC, a clever young inspector, went out to the guard post with a bottle of gin while he was waiting in the anteroom. He offered them to come to his place nearby to enjoy some more after passing it around. They all agreed and marched off. Watchers inside State House observed their departure and then swung their automatic weapons at Banjo. He was disarmed before being led to see the Biafran leader. It was 6 hours to the time Colonel Ojukwu should have been assassinated, being close to midnight on September 18. The army became traumatized and demoralized. Even though the ordinary soldier remained loyal to Ojukwu, the entire officer corps was discredited. Although torn by his friendship with Banjo and a relation by marriage to Alele, Ojukwu had to set an example to avoid a repeat of this kind of plot. The foreign leaders were tried by special tribunal, sentenced to death for high treason, and executed by firing squad on September 22, 1967. The exact degree of complicity of some of the British officials in Nigeria remained a matter of speculation in Biafra. In his confession though, Banjo implicated the British Deputy High Commission in Benin and the High Commission in Lagos as having been his liaison men with Awolowo and Gowon. Correspondents in Lagos later remarked they had noticed a sudden buoyancy among British officials in the middle of September, a confident assurance that it will all be over in a few days. This was in stark contrast to the near panic of 20th August and a prophecy hardly merited by the military situation. But after the attempted coup against Ojukwu, things actually changed. The damage in Biafra was enormous. We will look at what happened from now on in our subsequent video. You will be doing us a massive favor by liking this video so that more people can see it. Subscribe if you have not done so, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Peace.